If you're still looking for the perfect Pro controller for your Xbox or PC, then don't go anywhere. This might be the video for you. So let's get into it. So let's start off with what you get in the box, and then we can go over tech specs as well as how this controller performs. But before all that, if you enjoy game or tech reviews, please leave a like and subscribe on this video. It really does help the channel a lot, and it also helps me make more videos like this for you. So included with your purchase is the controller that looks very similar to a standard Xbox controller. You get your removable mappable buttons, which for me is a cool little feature. You get 2 customizable rings that you can use for around the thumbsticks and 2 longer thumbsticks as well. And then lastly, you also get your included 3-meter long micro USB cable to connect this controller to your PC or Xbox. Now all of this does fit in this handy little carry case, making it easy to travel not only the controller, but everything that comes with this controller as well, making it really handy. And then the USB cable also has this breakaway switch in case somebody trips over the cable. Instead of actually pulling down your PC or your console, it should just disconnect on that little breakaway point, making it a whole lot safer for use when actually sitting back and having people walk over the cable. Now looking at the controller itself, it is a fairly heavy controller, which for me isn't that big of a deal. But if you're looking for a lighter controller, then you may need to consider other controllers, as this one is pretty hefty. Also, this controller has this sort of satin-like finish that feels really smooth on hand, and the matte black and gray at the back looks really cool for me and makes this controller stand out a little bit more than just a standard controller. Now the controller itself also has these metallic accents, which can be replaced with the green ones that are included in the box if you want it. But for me, it looks a little bit weird if you do that, since you can only change out the thumbsticks and not the actual D-pad as well. So you do have this sort of inconsistency with only a few of the rings being green and then a few of them being chrome. But of course, if that's something that you want to do, then you of course can do that as well. Now the way you actually replace those chrome rings is by pulling off the front face, which is connected by magnetic points, and you have this little thumb holder in the bottom of the controller, and then you can just pull off the front face. Now while you're replacing those, you can also replace your thumbsticks, and even though the 2 included are the same length, they are different shapes as well. The one is still on the standard shape, and then the one has this sort of domed shape. So just bear that in mind, that if you're going to be changing those out with the longer sticks, that they don't have the same actual look at the top. And when it comes to how the controller feels, all the buttons feel really good to press. It kind of leans towards a more standard Xbox controller, and the thumbsticks themselves aren't that stiff. They are a little stiff, and so they do bounce back pretty quickly, but they are still fairly loose compared to other controllers out there. So if you're looking for stiff thumbsticks, then once again, this controller might not be the one for you. At the bottom of the controller, you can plug in a headset. And then one of my favorite features has to be the fact that you can remove the mappable button box when you don't need it. And if you don't want to remove the box, you can always easily remove the paddles as well. And that is also useful if you only want a few mappable buttons and you don't want all of the paddles on there at all times. Then of course you can just remove the paddles that you don't want, and then just have the exact number of paddles on the back of the controller that you need. Now to map these paddles, all you have to do is turn the controller around and hold down the map button until the LED starts flashing at the front. As soon as it flashes, all you have to do is press the button that you want to map, and then the paddle you want to map that to after that, and there you go, you have mapped your paddle. Now of course you can map any button to any paddle, even your thumbstick presses, and what makes this really cool is you don't need any software to actually map these buttons. And also it takes only a few seconds, making it really easy to remap buttons on the fly if needed. And then for those of you who are looking for trigger locks, this controller does have you covered. It also comes with 3 different stages of trigger lock, with each step reducing the distance the trigger travels. Now on the minimum distance, you still have more travel than some other controllers that I've tested in the past. So just bear in mind that if you're looking for something with minimal trigger distance travel, then this once again could be a deal breaker for you. But I do like the fact that it has 3 different stages, making it really easy to set the preferred distance travel that you need or that you want for your game. Now overall, this controller does have a bunch of cool features and specs that really makes it good for anybody looking for a pro controller without having to break the bank. I love the feel of the controller, the heft that it has. Also, the removable back paddles really make it a great option for most gamers, especially if you're someone that doesn't use all of the paddles or maybe don't want them on at all times. Now for me, as mentioned, the customizable rings for me weren't that big of a deal since you can only replace 2 of them instead of all of them. So really for me, I would just stick to the normal chrome rings. But once again, if that is something that you want to change, they do come included, so you don't have to go out and buy anything. So that is something you can change if it's something that you want to do. And then while using this controller, I really had a good time playing multiple different titles. I really enjoyed all of the button presses and all of the feedback that all of those buttons actually provided. The map buttons were also really simple to map compared to some other controllers that I have tested in the past. And with some of those, you really did have to go into the software, while with this one, you really just press the button, map your button that you need, meaning that even if you're playing on a console, you don't have to go and plug this controller into a PC to map those buttons. You can simply do that on the fly while you're playing. But then the biggest downside for me has to be the fact that it is wired. For me personally, I enjoy wireless controllers more, as wires tend to make your setup look messy, but this cable at least is fairly long, so you don't have to sit too close to your PC or your console while using it. But if you want something similar to this controller that is wireless, then you may want to check out the Microsoft Elite controller, but of course that comes in at $100 more than this controller. So if you're looking for a great controller for your setup that has mappable buttons, then the Fusion by PowerA is a really good option. It is a fairly inexpensive controller, especially for an Elite controller. It does feel really good in hand and performs really well, making it a really solid option. And then if you have any questions on this controller or any other controller that I've done in the past, feel free to ask me down in the comment section below or by reaching out to me on any of my other social media platforms. And then if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel a lot. And then until next time, cheers.